good question, and it's kind of a deep subject. If you don't learn from history, make the same mistake again. It's kind of the bottom line of that. And we want to teach the kids, we want to show the people what the greatest generation did and honor those individuals. It's a group of volunteers. We're a 501c3 corporation, so we're all nonprofit. None of us are getting paid. We come from all over the country and of all backgrounds. We've got a individual that worked for NASA. We've got electrical engineer. We've got truck drivers. We've got nurses. We've got doctors. Myself, I came out of industry as a quality manager. It's just all these different backgrounds that we melt together. You don't have to be military. You can certainly just have a love of the museum. And it's a great opportunity to share the story. And sharing the story is the fun part because you make so many connections doing that. One of the great stories was in that galley we walked by. There's a lady that walked in and was very inquisitive about the galley, and it's just like, well, she was starting to hold up the lines to the cook. Step inside here, we'll talk. And she started telling her story. Turns out her dad worked on an LST in the South Pacific in the galley. Dad never came home. The LST got torpedoed and sunk. She was connecting back to where her dad would have spent his last few hours. She never got to meet the man. LST is landing ship tank. Very simple. The Navy does things simple that way, 3 letters to describe the mission. It's also been described as last ship there or large slow target by the Navy crew. It is not noted for being very fast. The landing ship tank had one mission. That was to put 20 Sherman tanks on an unimproved beach. That's the initial concept. That was the design criteria set out by Winston Churchill. Actually was deeply involved with the LSTs. Now how that is accomplished is they went and talked to a submariner that was used to designing submarines and enlisted his help in revolutionizing weapon delivery to a beach. And this was revolutionary in its time. It had never been done before. We've seen the Higgins boats, which is a very small scale of this, but the LST, its ability to operate in open water and to beach itself. This is the only ship that the U.S. Navy, the captain can beach it without getting fired. You ground a ship in the U.S. Navy, you're looking for a job, which is kind of an interesting story. But they would load the tanks up and they'd actually put equipment on the top deck. They would literally pack these things full. Empty, this ship was 1,600 tons. Full was 4,000 tons. So you can imagine how much weight they were carrying with this ship. And purpose is, like I said, is just to get equipment, men on the beach that has no harbor, and then take them back off if needed. What an interesting story I've got to tell you is involves Cape Girardeau. The Lure brothers, who operates on the riverboat operation, the original founder of that operation was a Seabee during World War II. And he was caught on an island with the Japanese attacking. They were working on putting in an airstrip. Unfortunately, they're about to be overrun. LST came in and took him off the beach and saved his life. What happens when they're preparing to go onto the beach? The first thing they do is they drop the rear anchor. And that's about 100 yards out. They run the ship up on shore, just reeling out that anchor. They have the front of the ship nice and light. There's ballast tanks up here that usually are full of water. They take all that water out. They put it right up on the beach, set it down, and then they fill those tanks with water and plant that nose of the ship right on the beach. This anchor that they just had fed out, they take the slack out of it so it's not swirling on the beach. It stays nice and steady. Doors come open, ramp drops down, 20 Sherman tanks come rolling out the door. In fact, they've got to be very careful when they take the tanks off, that they don't take all them off from one side or all off the other side. They have to keep the ship balanced all through the unloading process. When the tanks are off, there is equipment up on the top deck. There's trucks, there's jeeps, there's artillery pieces. All that stuff gets loaded onto the elevator. The elevator drops it down to the tank deck. They wheel it off onto the beach. When everything's said and done, then they backload with possibly prisoners or wounded. This particular ship has 2 surgical suites. So it's It's loaded both ways. We're always carrying something. My name is Ken Rupp. I'm the cruise director. I also am a watch captain down in the engine room, so I'm running the engines, and I do medical on the ship. I'm an EMT as a volunteer back in Wisconsin, and I do it on the ship as well to take care of the customers and the crew.